Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today I have something that's a little bit off the cuff. It's going to be kind of like a stream of consciousness type of video. As you can clearly see, I wasn't fully prepared. My hair's still wet. But it's just something that it's almost like just me talking through something. So yesterday I was, I don't really hang out with a lot of my friends very much because of my medical issues, and of course now because of the pandemic. Um, and they have their own lives, and I have my life as well. And you know, things get busy as you get older. Marriage, children, things like that. So I connect mostly with my friends and other family members through social media, and I saw a post. One of my college friends, his wife posted that they were at a memorial service for his brother. And I kind of sat there for a moment. When there's something, a lot of times we know when somebody's very sick, and then when they eventually pass. So it's not like a shock, but my friend, I don't know his brother, by the way. I just kind of want to be clear about that. I've never met his brother. I know he has a brother, and I believe that's the only sibling he has. It's just him and his brother and his parents. Um, and for a moment, I was kind of like, no, that can't be right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm probably confusing um, him with an uncle. Maybe they have an uncle by the same name, because she had put uncle and his name. Um, but I was like, I don't know. I don't. It seems. I mean, it looks like they're referring to his brother. So I mean, I came to the conclusion that it was his brother that passed away. My friend is not very old. My friend is in his late 30s. He's, I think, a couple years older than me. So his brother must have been maybe in his very early 40s. I think it's his older brother. It could be younger, but I wouldn't. I would say no older than 42. I don't know what happened. So I right now, I kind of posted underneath the what she put. I posted, my condolences. Um, but I haven't heard anything. I don't know like whether to message or. I mean, it's one of those situations where you really don't know what to do or what to say, because I know that it must have been a sudden death. Um, because as far as I was aware, his brother was not sick with anything, so I have no idea what happened. But obviously, this video is not, it's not about his brother, which I don't want it to come across as this like very narcissistic thing. But when I make videos here on this channel, it's usually in relation to chronic illness and to my experience as a chronically ill person. Um, and whenever something like this happens, and it's almost with every single death that occurs, regardless of the age of the person, but it is even more poignant, I guess, when the person is young. You know, I obviously feel horrible for my friend and for his family. And that's always my first thought, especially as something sudden like this, but my mind will always eventually go to how I have now outlived another person. I did talk about my aunt passing away this past year. And my thought, when she passed was, I have outlived this person now. And it's almost like this weird, um, I hate to phrase it this way because I don't want to sound so insensitive, but this is sort of the way that my mind starts to process these things, is almost like this relay race. And I have now outrun this person. I have now outrun this other person. I have now passed up this other person. But we're all in the same race to the finish line. And being sick through all of these things is, you know, and still outliving someone, especially someone who was perfectly healthy. Obviously, my aunt was not completely well. She struggled with diabetes, being overweight, and other issues. But to see someone so young in my, from my generation, in my sort of age group, and then just to suddenly see that, and also the ambiguity of the situation, because I don't know how he passed or why. I don't know what exactly what happened. It's just really one of those things that, it just hits me like you have now outlived one more person. Um, my throat's a little dry, but that that thought, it's a horrible thought in a way. It's a very it's almost like an intrusive thought where it's not something that I mean to think about. It's not something that's like deliberate, but it's a thought that always occurs when somebody dies, and it's even more aggressive of a thought when it's a person that is young. um and just I don't know what it is, and I'm curious to know if some of you guys also, those of you who are chronically ill that watch my channel, if you have the same thought. Because even throughout our chronic illness, other things happen. Other people get sick. I've talked about my nephew getting cancer. Um, my uncle struggles with complications from radiation. And people die. That's the scariest part, is that even though we're sick and we're struggling with our illness every single day, there are people that are still dying around us. People that may be celebrities, or people that are closer to us that are in our own families, or friends of friends, family of friends. And you still see that. You're still experiencing these other things. And I think it also is one of those things that pulls you out of your chronic illness. And I think that's sort of what makes it more uncomfortable, is that it just pulls you out of chronic illness for that moment, because someone else has passed and you're still alive. Granted, you're still suffering and you're still struggling with your health, but you're still living and breathing and waking up the next morning, and this other person is no longer able to do that. And I just found this out last night. My friend's wife didn't respond to my comment. I just said, my condolences, and it seems like other people are giving their condolences. I think other people are also just as shocked as I am, because none of us were aware of anything particularly happening with his brother. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure he'll talk about it when he's ready. But I think we're all kind of just like, what's going on? What happened? And, it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to feel. This is just the way that I process it. Obviously, it always sort of comes back to myself. I think being sick makes you that way. It makes you sort of like always think about yourself, especially in relation to death, because we're, those of us who are chronically ill are struggling with our health. And I have said this before in another video that, there is a difference between chronic illness and terminal illness, but terminal illness has, a prognosis. You're either going to die or you're going to live. If you're going to die, they'll tell you about when you will die. Chronic illness is different in the sense that you're going to die. You just don't know when. Chronic illness is unpredictable, and there's no prognosis for it. And I think that's the one thing that most people don't understand, is that chronic illness can still be very deadly, and it's just also very disabling before that. But a lot of people don't see chronic illness as something that's going to kill you, because you can live a long life chronically ill. But, like I said, the finish line is there for all of us. Chronically ill people just don't know when. If you're terminally ill, sometimes they can give you more or less a time frame. But these unpredictable things, my aunt's death was, I can't say, we didn't anticipate that, because she was already, she had her first vaccine, and we assumed that everybody was being careful around her because she was in the highest risk group. So it still shocked us in a way, but she was also elderly. She was in her mid 80s. We knew that. This situation is, I don't know the guy, but I know he was young. I know he was very young, and I don't know what happened. And just to see people in my age group, I remember having a familiar feeling when I found out some guy that I went to elementary school with. I think we went to like elementary school, junior high, and high school. Like we went to all the same schools. I also didn't know him personally, and we weren't friends, but he died. But he died from some kind of like gang violence type of situation. And that was a long time ago. That was probably like a decade ago when I still wasn't fully disabled, but also remembering, like thinking to myself, this person is my age. Back then I was much younger than I am now, and thinking, he was my age and he's gone now. And then little by little, as the years go by, you start to hear of different people that have passed, people from your generation, people that you went to elementary school with or high school. And it takes on a very different, I don't want to say different meaning. It feels even more, like I said before, poignant when you're sick. When you're sick and you've been struggling with your health, and there's this other person who is perfectly healthy and they go before you do. It's confusing. It's almost confusing. It's almost unfair. It's a lot of mixed, confusing feelings that I experience when something like that happens. The other thing, and the part that I kind of want to close on, and again, I want to know if you guys feel the same way or have something similar that happens to you, is this pressure. And I'm not saying that anybody is pressuring me, it's this internal pressure to stay alive. And again, it's difficult to describe, but it's almost this, you know, I want to kind of talk about my friend group. So I don't have a lot of friends. I have this one friend and another guy that we went to college with that we're kind of not on speaking terms right now, but we're sort of the kind of little mini friend group from college. And so it's not a lot of us, we're kind of a small little group, but in my mind it's like we can't have another casualty here. Like I don't know, it's this bizarre, like I can't let something happen to me now, because this is, I'm his friend, even though we're not that much in contact anymore. But if, it's too much tragedy for one person. He lost a brother. Now, I'm not a super close friend, but we were, we went to college together. We have a background, and you feel almost this weird pressure. And I felt the same way when my aunt passed away. Like my mom's sister, that she was actually pretty close to, especially in recent years. What if she loses her daughter as well? Like that's too much at once, or that's too much loss for a single person. And so I know that they're not thinking those things. I know that they're not, that's not even in their minds, but that's, for whatever reason, it's something that I start thinking about. Like, I need to stay alive. I need to take care of myself. I can't add to this tragedy, into this sadness that they're experiencing. I can't be another, I can't put more on their plate that they already have. And that was something that was really, really stressful during the time that my nephew was sick. He got leukemia, and he was in treatment for 3 years. He's done with treatment, thank God. He's doing well. But I remember during that time feeling like we can't have more tragedy during this time. We're trying to get through these 3 years of treatment. We're trying to get him back to health. I need to just kind of mind my business and stay in my corner, and not be the sick person, not be the center of attention here, because we need to focus on him and get him through this. Now that he's better, it's like, okay, well, now I can, I don't know, I don't know what it is. It's just this feeling of making other people feel worse. And I don't know why these deaths always trigger that feeling, this feeling of I need to be alive for these people. I need to be there for them, even though I'm not really in contact, with him that much. but just not to add to the tragedy, not to add to the sadness with my own problems or with my own death. Um, and so I sort of find myself like trying to figure out ways to take care of myself or to get myself better, or, fighting the good fight. And I mean, obviously it's not logical. It's not even fair, because I am sick and I am suffering, and that has nothing to do with me. The death of his brother or the death of my aunt, these were things that were not in my control. But I don't know. This is just where my brain goes. And I'm curious, for those of you who are chronically ill, obviously, if you've been chronically ill for a long time, for at least 5 years, there have been deaths around you. And I want to know what your feelings are, how you respond to it, if it comes back to you and your own medical issues. Do you feel grateful that you're still alive? Do you feel resentful that that person has gone and you're still here? Because I think those are all normal feelings. I don't think they're weird. Um, I don't think there's any specific way that we as sick people should feel. Obviously, there is that sense of shock, like I can't believe that person is gone. Um, but there's also all these other internal feelings, mixed feelings that we have when somebody passes away. And even though I didn't know this person, I'm just going through it. I mean, I was sitting there. I was listening to music last night, and then suddenly I saw this post, and I couldn't go back to listening to music. I couldn't go back to my sort of ruminations that I've been having. It's almost like I had to stop and just be like, be sad with them, or be sad for them. And also all of the questions of what happened. What happened is that something would happen so suddenly to someone who is so young. um but yeah, I really want to know. I want to know if this is common among those of us who are sick. And I know some of us, granted, I can't say technically that I've been near death, even though I feel that way sometimes. But I do know that there are chronically ill people that have been very near death, that have been hospitalized, that have had their organs affected by their illness. They've survived and they're still alive, but I know that there are chronic illnesses that can bring you very, very close to death without actually even killing you sometimes. And so I'm curious to know your thoughts when somebody else does die around you. And again, if you're not comfortable sharing those thoughts, that's fine. I know that this can be a very triggering video for some people, but if if you have any thoughts on this, I'd be interested to know, like, how do you process these feelings? How do you work through them? Do you have an increased sense of gratitude? Which is, I feel like that's what other people sort of, when they look at chronically ill people, they're like, look, you outlived this person, you should be grateful. And I don't think that that's necessarily true. I don't think that we should feel grateful. I think that's also minimizing the pain that we're going through. But some people might. Some people might feel grateful that they're still going. And there are some chronically ill people out there that are very, very positive, and that just, for whatever reason, just can roll with it very well. And there are some of us that don't. But yeah, I'm curious. Leave in the comments your own experiences and how you process these kinds of things. And yeah, I want to know. So that's what I have for you guys for today. By the time this goes up, it'll probably be months after this situation has happened. So yeah, so it'll be posted in the future. I don't want it to go up like right away. So anyways, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again soon. Take care.